The notification pinged my phone at 9:43 p.m. on a Tuesday. Bank of America. ATM withdrawal. $200. Motel 112 on Euclid Avenue. I stared at the screen in our kitchen, still wearing my warehouse vest from the evening shift. Ashley was supposed to be closing the Peterson retail store downtown. Had been for the past 3 hours, according to her text at 6:30. Late night, inventory nightmare, probably won't be home until 10. I pulled up our joint account. The withdrawal was from her debit card. Motel 112. I knew that place. A rundown spot on the east side where rooms went for $40 a night and nobody asked questions. My hands started shaking, not from fear, but from something colder. Calculation. I was in my truck within 5 minutes. The drive to Euclid took 12 minutes. I kept my speed exactly at the limit, mind working through the logistics like I was planning a warehouse delivery route. Park in the back. Check the lot for her Civic. Confirm before confronting. I'd spent 15 years managing inventory and personnel at Brecker Distribution. I knew how to verify information before making moves. Her silver Honda was parked in the shadows near room 118, next to a black Lexus I recognized immediately. Derek Walsh's car, her district supervisor. The guy who'd been to our house for exactly 2 barbecues, both times talking about quarterly projections and employee performance metrics while drinking my beer. I sat in my truck for 30 seconds, letting my heartbeat settle. Then I walked to room 118 and knocked. Hard. Housekeeping, I said flatly. Shuffling inside. Whispers. The door cracked open and Derek's face appeared, shirt buttoned wrong, hair messed up. His expression went from annoyed to terrified in half a second. Blake. Hey man, this isn't... I pushed the door open. Ashley was sitting on the bed in her work clothes, mascara smeared, lipstick gone. She looked at me and started crying immediately. How long? I asked. Derek moved toward me. Look, we should all just calm down and... I'm asking my wife. How long? Ashley's voice came out small. 3 months. 3 months. I looked around the cheap room, water-stained ceiling, cigarette burns on the nightstand despite the no smoking sign. You've been screwing your boss in a $40 motel for 3 months. Blake, please. Using our emergency fund to pay for it. I held up my phone showing the transaction. That's cute. Really thoughtful. Derek found his voice again, shifting into that manager tone he probably used on underperforming employees. Blake, I understand you're upset, but if we could just discuss this like adults... Get your stuff, Ashley. You're coming home so we can figure out the divorce. Her face crumpled. Divorce? Blake, no, we can work through this. We're done. Get your stuff. Derek stepped between us, hands up like he was diffusing a situation. Now hold on. Let's not make any rash decisions. Ashley and I have developed feelings for each other, yes, but this doesn't have to destroy anyone's life. We're all professionals here. I looked at him carefully. Really looked. Expensive watch, designer shirt, shoes that cost more than I made in a week. And suddenly something clicked in my head. The same instinct that helped me catch inventory shrinkage at the warehouse. What did you pay for the room? I asked. He blinked. What? The room. What did it cost? I don't see how that's $40 a night here, but Ashley just withdrew $200. So what did the room cost, Derek? His face changed. Just for a second, but I saw it. The flash of panic behind his eyes. I paid for the room, he said. The withdrawal was for other expenses. What other expenses? Ashley stood up. Blake, can we please just go home and talk about this privately? What other expenses, Derek? He straightened his collar, recovering his composure. I don't think my financial arrangements with Ashley are any of your business anymore. Financial arrangements. I stepped closer. You're her supervisor. She's a store manager. What financial arrangements would you two have that involve ATM withdrawals at seedy motels? Blake, Ashley started. Shut up, Ashley. I kept my eyes on Derek. Show me the receipt for the room. I don't have to show you anything. Company credit card, I said quietly. You paid with a company card, didn't you? The silence answered my question. I turned to Ashley. Get in your car, go home, pack your stuff and be gone before I get back tomorrow. Leave your key on the counter. Blake, please. Tomorrow. Or I call the police and report this as what it actually is. Fraud and embezzlement. Derek's voice went sharp. You're making serious accusations without any Peterson Retail Company card, right? Used to pay for a personal hotel room during a supposed business closing. That's misappropriation of company funds at minimum. I smiled without humor. I move $3 million in inventory every quarter, Derek. I know what expense fraud looks like. He tried to recover. This is a personal matter between adults. The company has nothing to do with. Then you won't mind if I mention it to HR tomorrow. I'm sure they'd love to verify your expense reports. See if this is the first time you've charged personal activities to corporate accounts. Ashley grabbed her purse. I'm going. Blake, I'll call you tomorrow. Don't bother. She left, crying. Derek stood there, trying to look authoritative but sweating through his expensive shirt. You need to understand something, he said. I'm Ashley's supervisor. I control her career prospects. If you make this difficult for me, it will be very difficult for her. She's not going to be working there much longer anyway. And you? I looked him up and down. I'm going to find out exactly what you've been doing with company money. Every penny. That sounds like a threat. It's a promise. Get out of my sight. I left him standing in that grimy room and drove home. My hands were steady on the wheel. My mind was already working through the problem like a logistics puzzle. Ashley had access to employee files at her store. Derek had authority over multiple locations. Company credit cards. Expense accounts. ATM withdrawals that didn't match the expenses they supposedly covered. I'd caught 3 employees stealing from the warehouse over the years. Always the same pattern. Small irregularities that added up to big theft. This felt bigger. Much bigger. When I got home, I opened my laptop and started making a spreadsheet. Ashley showed up the next morning at 6 a.m., looking like she hadn't slept. I was already dressed for work, coffee in hand, laptop open on the kitchen table showing the notes I'd made overnight. I need to explain, she said. You need to pack and leave. Blake, please, just listen for 5 minutes. I looked at her. We'd been married 8 years. I'd loved her completely for most of that time. Right now, I felt nothing but cold analysis. 5 minutes, clock's running. She sat down across from me. Derek and I. It started at the regional conference in April. We were both there for the management training, and he was so different from you. He understood the retail pressures, the corporate politics. He made me feel important. 3 months ago. You said 3 months last night. It was April. Yeah, 3 months. Keep going. He said he could get me promoted to district manager. Said he had connections at corporate, that he could make my career. But I had to help him with something first. My attention sharpened. Help him with what? She looked down at her hands. He needed access to employee files, social security numbers, bank account information for direct deposits. He said it was for a new corporate wellness program, that he was setting up better benefits for store-level employees. And you gave him the files. He's my supervisor, Blake. He has access anyway through the system. I helped him compile the information faster, made copies of the personnel files. I pulled up a document on my laptop. Which stores? What? Which stores did you give him employee information from? She hesitated. Just mine at first. Then he asked for the other stores in the district. All 5? Yes. Blake, what is this about? I turned the laptop toward her. These are the Peterson retail locations in Derek's district. Your store on Prospect, the one on Lorraine, West 25th, Brook Park, and the downtown location. According to LinkedIn, he has female managers at 4 of the 5 stores. The downtown one just promoted a guy to manager 2 months ago. Her face went pale. I don't understand. How many of those managers is Derek sleeping with? He wouldn't. Ashley, you're sleeping with your married supervisor in exchange for career advancement and helping him access employee financial records. You think you're the only one? She stood up fast, chair scraping. You're just trying to hurt me. You're making things up because you're angry. Sit down. Something in my voice made her obey. Did Derek ever give you money? Cash? Checks? Anything? Sometimes. Gas money for when I had to drive to other stores for him. Lunch money when we met during the day. Why? How much total, would you say? I don't know. A few hundred over the months. Blake, what does this have to do with anything? I pulled up another document. These are expense reimbursement requests from employees at your store. 7 people have been waiting more than 3 months for payments. Everything from work boots to mileage reimbursement for using personal vehicles on store business. The requests were all approved by you, submitted to Derek for district-level processing. None of them got paid. That's not my fault. Corporate processing takes forever sometimes. Maria Gonzalez. She requested $120 for safety boots back in March. She's a single mom working the stockroom. She can't afford new boots, Ashley. She's been wearing shoes with holes in them for 2 months waiting for that reimbursement. Ashley's voice got defensive. I approved it. I did my job. If corporate didn't process it, that's not on me. What if it never made it to corporate? What if Derek intercepted it? That's insane. Why would he do that? Why does anyone steal? Money. I closed the laptop. Your 5 minutes are up. Pack your stuff and get out. Blake, I made a mistake. I know I did. But I'm not a criminal, and neither is Derek. You're paranoid. Then you have nothing to worry about. I'm filing for divorce today. My lawyer will contact you about the papers. Don't take anything that's not clearly yours. I'll be documenting everything. She started crying again. This is our marriage. 8 years. You're just throwing it away? You threw it away when you screwed Derek Walsh in a motel using our emergency fund. I left her standing in the kitchen and went to work. Tony Martinez found me during my lunch break on Thursday. I was in my office at the warehouse, eating a sandwich and scrolling through Peterson Retail's public financial reports. Blake, you got a minute? Tony had worked the loading docks at Brecker for 6 years. Good guy, reliable, supported his grandmother and 2 younger siblings on a forklift driver's salary. He looked nervous. What's up? I heard your wife works at Peterson Retail. The one on Prospect? She does. Why? My sister works there. Stockroom. She's been trying to get reimbursed for work boots for like 4 months. They keep telling her it's processing, but nothing happens. She's about to give up. I set down my sandwich. What's your sister's name? Maria Gonzalez. Small world. Come in, close the door. Tony sat down looking worried. Is she in trouble? She didn't do anything wrong, I swear. She just needed the boots for safety compliance. She's not in trouble, but I think her manager might be. I opened my laptop. Your sister submitted the request to Ashley Coleman, right? My wife? Yeah. Ashley approved it right away. Real nice about it. But then nothing happened. What if I told you that reimbursement never made it to corporate? What if someone intercepted it? Tony's expression hardened. Who? District supervisor named Derek Walsh. You know him? Maria mentioned him. Said he was always around the store, always talking to Ashley privately. Made some of the girls uncomfortable. I need you to have Maria document everything. Every interaction about that reimbursement. Dates, times, who she talked to. Can you do that? Yeah, but why? What's going on? I made a decision. Derek's been having an affair with Ashley. Last night I caught them at a motel. He paid for the room with a company credit card. Holy crap. It gets worse. I think he's been stealing employee reimbursement money. Maybe pension contributions too. But I can't prove it yet. I need evidence. Tony leaned forward. You're serious? He's stealing from the employees? I think he's been doing it for months, maybe longer. Using his position to access employee financial information, creating fake expense accounts, intercepting legitimate reimbursements. The affairs with managers give him access to personnel files. That's how much are we talking about? I don't know yet, but if he's doing it across all 5 stores in his district, and if he's also skimming pension contributions. I pulled up my spreadsheet. There are about 90 employees across those stores. If he's taking an average of $500 per employee over 8 months, that's $45,000. If he's hitting pension contributions too, double that. Maybe more. Tony's face went dark. Maria's been wearing shoes with holes in them, working on her feet 10 hours a day in busted shoes because she can't afford new ones until that reimbursement comes through. And this piece of garbage is stealing her money? That's what I think. But I need proof before I can go to anyone. Corporate won't take my word for it, especially since it involves my wife. What do you need? Documentation. Any employee at those 5 stores who's had reimbursement problems, pension contribution issues, anything financial that doesn't add up. I need to see a pattern. Tony stood up. Give me a week. Maria knows people at all the Peterson locations. The stockroom workers all talk. If this is happening to multiple people, we'll find them. Be quiet about it. If Derek figures out we're investigating, he'll cover his tracks. We'll be ghosts. He paused at the door. Blake, I'm sorry about your wife. Don't be. This is bigger than my marriage now. Ashley moved in with her sister. I filed for divorce on Friday. Didn't even need a lawyer for the initial paperwork. We had no kids, no significant shared assets except the house, which was in my name from before the marriage. I wanted it done fast and clean. She called me Saturday morning crying. Blake, Derek broke up with me. I was at my laptop cross-referencing Peterson retail expense account policies with state employment law. Okay. That's all you have to say? Okay. What do you want me to say, Ashley? You screwed your boss. You helped him access employee files for whatever he's doing. Now you're dealing with consequences. This is not my problem anymore. He said if I talk to anyone about what happened, he'll fire me and make sure I never work retail management again. That got my attention. He threatened you? He said it would be better for everyone if we just moved on quietly. That I should focus on my career and forget about us? Did you tell him I suspected anything about the employee money? No, you said not to. Good. She could still follow instructions. Keep it that way. Don't mention me. Don't mention anything financial. Just agree with whatever he says. Why are you helping me? I'm not helping you. I'm helping 90 employees who might be getting robbed. You're just collateral benefit. I paused. Did he ever talk about other stores? Other managers? Sometimes. He mentioned Stephanie at the Lorraine location. Said she was ambitious, that she understood what it took to move up. Is he sleeping with her too? Silence on the line. Ashley? I don't know. Maybe. He always had meetings with her. Private ones. What about the Brook Park manager? Rebecca something? Rebecca Turner. I don't know about her either. Blake, are you saying he does this with everyone? I'm saying he uses sex to manipulate female managers into giving him access to employee data. Then he steals from the employees. You were just one target in a bigger operation. She made a choking sound. Oh my God. Yeah. Oh my God. I kept my voice flat. Here's what you're going to do. Keep working. Act normal. Don't let Derek know you suspect anything. And if he asks you to do anything with employee files or financial information, you tell me immediately. You're investigating him. I'm documenting fraud. Big difference. Blake, if he finds out, he won't find out from you. Because you're going to keep your mouth shut and do exactly what I tell you. That's how you might avoid criminal charges. Criminal charges? Blake, I didn't steal anything. You provided employee social security numbers and bank account information to someone who's using them for fraud. That makes you an accessory. Your only way out is cooperation. Another silence. Then, quietly, what do I do? Nothing. Just be normal. Go to work. If Derek talks to you, be friendly but distant. If he asks for anything unusual, call me first. Can you handle that? Yes. Good. And Ashley, don't contact me unless it's about this. We're done otherwise. I hung up and went back to my spreadsheet. Tony came back to me the following Thursday with a notebook full of handwritten notes. We met at a coffee shop near the warehouse after my shift. 15 employees across the 5 stores, he said, sliding the notebook across the table. All with the same problem. Approved expense reimbursements that never got paid. The oldest request is from 8 months ago. I flipped through the pages. Work boots, uniforms, mileage reimbursement, equipment purchases. Amounts ranging from $87 to $430. Each one approved at the store level, submitted to district supervision, then nothing. Total amount? Just over $32,000. I felt my jaw tighten. $32,000 from employee reimbursements alone. Gets worse. 3 employees noticed weird activity with their pension contributions. Amounts not matching up with their pay stubs. Like the deductions are happening, but the money's not showing up in their pension accounts correctly. Which employees? David Reynolds at Brook Park, Sarah Kim at Lorraine, and Jeff Parker downtown. They all complained to HR but got told it was accounting errors that would be fixed. Never was. I did quick math. If pension contributions are off by even $50 per employee per month for 8 months, across 90 employees, that's another $36,000 minimum. $68,000 total? Probably more. This is just what we can document. I looked at the notebook. These people willing to talk officially? They want their money. Yeah, they'll talk. I need everything organized. dates, amounts, documentation of approval, copies of the requests if they have them. Can your sister coordinate that? Already on it. Maria's like a union organizer now. She's pissed. Good. Anger is useful. I pulled out my own folder. I've been looking at Derek's background. He's been with Peterson Retail for 6 years. Before that, he worked for a chain in Columbus that went bankrupt. And before that, he worked for a big box retailer in Cincinnati that fired him for policy violations. Nothing specific in the public record, but I'm betting it was financial. So he's done this before? Probably. He gets hired, works his way up to district supervisor, starts stealing from employees who can't fight back, then moves on before anyone catches the pattern. Tony shook his head. Why employees? Why not just steal from the company directly? Because employee expense fraud is harder to track. The company doesn't care about a $100 boot reimbursement the way they care about 10,000 missing from the register. Small amounts from powerless people. It's predatory. What's our next move? I need to see Derek's actual expense reports, the ones he submits to corporate. If I can prove the reimbursement requests never made it up the chain, or if I can show he's creating fake expenses using employee information, then we have him. How do we get those? I'm working on that part. Ashley called me 2 days later, voice shaking. Derek asked me to help him with something. What kind of something? He said there's a new training program. Needs employee information updated in the system. Social security numbers, direct deposit routing numbers, everything. He wants me to verify the records for my store and send him a complete file. When? By Monday. It was Friday evening. He's planning something big, probably his exit strategy. Exit strategy? He knows the affair is over. He's probably planning to grab one last big score and transfer to a different region. Fresh start, new victims. Blake, I can't be part of this. If he steals using information I give him, you're going to give him exactly what he asks for. But first, you're going to make copies of everything. Every employee file, every piece of information you send him. You're going to document it all. I could lose my job. I could go to jail. You're already an accessory to fraud, Ashley. Your only option now is cooperation. Help me catch him, and I'll make sure the prosecutors know you helped. Don't help me, and you go down with him. You'd do that to me? You did this to yourself. I'm offering you a life raft. Take it or drown. Long silence. Then, what exactly do you need? I spent 20 minutes walking her through the documentation process. Make copies before sending anything. Note the time, date, and method of transmission. Keep records of every conversation with Derek about employee information. One more thing, I said. When you send him the files, include one fake employee, someone who doesn't actually exist. Make up a name, social security number, bank account, everything, but make it look completely legitimate. Why? Because if Derek tries to use that fake employee for fraud, we'll know exactly when and how. It's a trap. Can you do that? I think so. Don't think. Do it. Your future depends on this, Ashley. After I hung up, I called Tony. Get me contact information for every employee your sister has been talking to. I need them ready to go on record as soon as we have proof. You got something? I'm about to. Derek's making his big move. We're going to catch him in the act. Monday morning, Ashley sent Derek the employee files as requested. She'd created a fake employee named Thomas Richardson, complete social security number, bank routing information, home address, emergency contacts. Everything looked legitimate because Ashley knew exactly how the personnel files were formatted. She'd also kept copies of every single file she sent, along with screenshots of Derek's email requests and time-stamped documentation of when she transmitted the information. "It's done," she told me over the phone. "I sent everything 2 hours ago." "Good. Now we wait." "How long?" "Not long. He's getting nervous. The affair's over. He knows I confronted him. He's probably planning to make one big score and request a transfer." "What if he doesn't do anything? What if I just handed him employee information for no reason?" "He'll do something. Predators like Derek can't help themselves." I was right. Wednesday afternoon, Ashley called me at work. She was crying. "Blake, there's a purchase order in the system. $15,000 worth of equipment for a store renovation that was never approved." "Which store?" "Mine. But we're not doing any renovation. I never approved this." "Is Derek's name on the authorization?" "Yes. And the vendor is some company I've never heard of. Metro Supply Solutions." I pulled up my laptop and searched for Metro Supply Solutions. No website. No business registration in Ohio. No physical address except a P.O. box in Akron. "It's a shell company," I said. "Derek created a fake vendor, ordered fake equipment, and he's going to cut himself a check for 15 grand. "Oh my God. Check the banking information for the vendor. Does it match any of the employee accounts you gave him?" I heard typing, then a sharp intake of breath. "It's Thomas Richardson's account, the fake employee I created." "Perfect. Screenshot everything. The purchase order, the vendor information, the banking details. Send it all to me right now." "Blake, if I report this, Derek will know I was documenting everything." "You're not reporting it. I am. Send me the files." 10 minutes later, I had everything. A purchase order for $15,000 worth of non-existent equipment, authorized by Derek Walsh, payable to a shell company using bank account information Derek had obtained from employee files Ashley provided. It was beautiful, clean, documented, absolutely prosecutable fraud. I picked up my phone and called Peterson Retail Corporate Headquarters. The woman who answered in HR sounded bored. "Peterson Retail, Human Resources, this is Jennifer. I need to report employee fraud and embezzlement." Her tone changed immediately. "Please hold for our compliance department." I got transferred to a guy named Marcus Williams, Director of Corporate Compliance. He sounded like someone who dealt with shoplifters and minor theft, not major embezzlement. "Mr. Coleman, I understand you're reporting a concern. Can you explain the situation?" "Derek Walsh, District Supervisor for the Cleveland region, has been systematically stealing from employee expense accounts and pension contributions for at least 8 months. Total theft is estimated at $68,000 minimum, possibly exceeding $127,000. Silence. Then, "Those are serious allegations. Do you have evidence?" "I have documentation of $32,000 in stolen expense reimbursements from 15 employees. I have evidence of pension contribution irregularities affecting multiple employees. And I have proof that Derek created a fraudulent purchase order for $15,000 using employee banking information obtained through manipulation of store managers." "How did you obtain this information?" "My wife is one of the store managers Derek manipulated. She's cooperating with this investigation." "I see. Mr. Coleman, this is going to require a formal investigation. I'll need you to send all documentation to our secure reporting email. Can you do that?" "I can do better. I can get you caught in the act. Derek is planning to process that $15,000 fraudulent purchase order in the next 48 hours. If you freeze the transaction and investigate the vendor, you'll catch him red-handed. More silence. Give me 1 hour. I need to loop in our legal team and external auditors. 1 hour. But if Derek gets spooked and runs, you lose your chance to catch him actively stealing. Understood. Send everything you have to compliance@petersonretail.com. Secure attachment. Mark it urgent. I sent the files before I even hung up. Marcus Williams called me back in 40 minutes, not an hour. Mr. Coleman, we're bringing in Deloitte to handle the forensic audit. They'll be on site tomorrow morning. I need you and your wife available for interviews. My wife is willing to cooperate fully. She's documented every interaction where Derek requested employee information. Good. We've also contacted the other store managers in Derek's district. Are you aware he's been having inappropriate relationships with multiple female managers? I suspected. Do you have confirmation? 2 managers have come forward in the last hour. Both confirm similar patterns: romantic involvement in exchange for career advancement and requests for employee file access. Stephanie at Lorraine and Rebecca at Brook Park? I can't confirm names, but yes, multiple managers. What about the purchase order? We've frozen all pending transactions from Derek's approval queue. The Metro Supply Solutions payment is blocked pending investigation. If he tries to process it or move any other funds, we'll know immediately. When are you confronting him? Tomorrow at 9 a.m. He has a scheduled district meeting at corporate. He doesn't know it's actually an interview with fraud investigators. I smiled. I want to be there. That's not possible, Mr. Coleman. This is a corporate internal investigation. He's been stealing from 90 employees who can't afford to lose a dime. He's been sleeping with his subordinates and manipulating them into helping him commit fraud. I'm the one who figured it out and handed you everything you need to prosecute. I'm going to be in that room. I appreciate your investment in this case, but let me rephrase. I have 15 employees ready to go public with this story if Peterson Retail doesn't handle it properly. I have documentation of corporate negligence. Multiple employees complained about pension irregularities and got ignored. I have evidence your HR department failed to catch a serial predator stealing from workers. You want this handled quietly and professionally? I'm in that room tomorrow, or the news media is. Long pause. You're playing hardball. I learned from the best. Derek Walsh taught me that sometimes you have to leverage people to get what you want. I'm just better at it than he is. 9 a.m. tomorrow. Corporate headquarters, conference room 3B. Don't be late. He hung up. I immediately called Tony. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. They're taking Derek down. Get Maria and any other employee who wants to see justice to corporate headquarters. They won't let everyone in, but I want Derek to see faces in the hallway. I want him to know exactly whose money he stole. We'll be there. I got to Peterson Retail headquarters at 8:30 a.m. The building was typical corporate. Glass and steel, abstract art in the lobby, motivational posters about teamwork and excellence. I wore my warehouse supervisor clothes, clean jeans, company polo shirt, work boots. I wanted Derek to see exactly what I was. Tony showed up at 8:45 with 12 employees from various stores. They filled the lobby, quiet but present. Maria Gonzalez was wearing the busted shoes she'd been waiting months to replace. David Reynolds had his pension statements in a folder. Sarah Kim had printed emails showing her complaints to HR that went unanswered. Marcus Williams came down at 8:55. He looked at the crowd and then at me. This wasn't part of our agreement. They have a right to be here. This is their money he stole. They can't come into the conference room. They'll wait in the lobby, but Derek's gonna walk past them on his way in and on his way out. He's gonna see what he did. Marcus sighed. Third floor, conference room 3B, you only. I followed him upstairs. The conference room was set up like an interrogation. Long table, chairs on both sides, camera mounted in the corner. 3 people were already there. 2 Deloitte auditors and a woman I didn't recognize. Blake Coleman, Marcus said. This is Sandra Martinez from our legal team and the Deloitte forensic accounting team. We shook hands. Nobody smiled. This was business. Derek arrives in 5 minutes, Sandra said. Mr. Coleman, you are here as an observer only. You will not speak unless directly addressed. If you cannot follow these instructions, you'll be removed. Clear? Crystal. We sat down. The wait felt like hours, but was probably 90 seconds. Then Derek walked in, looking confident in an expensive suit, holding a tablet and coffee. He saw me and froze. Blake, what are you doing here? Marcus gestured to a chair. Mr. Walsh, please sit down. This is a formal inquiry into financial irregularities in your district. Derek's expression shifted from confident to calculating. He sat down slowly, putting his coffee on the table. What kind of irregularities? One of the Deloitte auditors, a woman in her 50s, opened a laptop. Mr. Walsh, you submitted a purchase order 3 days ago for $15,000 payable to Metro Supply Solutions for equipment renovation at the Prospect Avenue location. Can you explain this transaction? Of course. It's a standard renovation project. The store manager requested updated equipment. The store manager, Ashley Coleman, has no record of requesting any renovation. In fact, she explicitly states she never authorized any such purchase. Derek glanced at me. I'm sure there's been a miscommunication. Ashley and I have discussed several improvement projects. Metro Supply Solutions doesn't exist as a registered business in Ohio, the auditor continued. The banking information for the vendor matches an employee file in your district, an employee named Thomas Richardson. That must be an administrative error. I'll have my assistant correct. Thomas Richardson doesn't exist. He's a fictitious employee created to test whether you were using employee financial information for fraudulent purposes. You failed that test. Derek's face went pale. He looked at me again, and I saw the moment he understood. I'd set him up. Ashley had helped me. Everything was documented. I want my lawyer, he said quietly. That's your right, Sandra said. But before you make that call, you should know we've identified $32,000 in stolen employee expense reimbursements, irregularities in pension contributions affecting multiple employees, and evidence of you creating false vendor accounts using employee information obtained through inappropriate relationships with store managers. We have emails, Mr. Walsh. We have testimony from 4 store managers. We have banking records, purchase orders, and forensic evidence of systematic fraud dating back 8 months. We also have evidence of sexual relationships with subordinate employees, which violates company policy and potentially Ohio employment law. Derek stood up. I'm not saying anything else without legal representation. Sit down, Derek, I said. Everyone looked at me. Sandra started to object, but I kept talking. You stole Maria Gonzalez's boot money. She's been working in shoes with holes for 2 months because you needed an extra $100. You stole David Reynolds' pension contributions. He's 58 years old, Derek. That's his retirement you took. Sarah Kim has 2 kids, and she's been waiting 4 months for mileage reimbursement so she can pay for car repairs. Mr. Coleman, Sandra started, these aren't numbers on a spreadsheet. They're people. 90 people who trusted you, who worked hard and followed the rules, and you stole from them because you could. Derek's face was red. You self-righteous piece of... How much total, Derek? How much did you steal? I don't have to answer to you. The Deloitte auditor cleared her throat. Based on our preliminary analysis, we estimate total theft at approximately $127,000 across employee expenses, pension contributions, and fraudulent vendor payments. Silence in the room. Derek sat back down. He looked smaller suddenly, defeated. I need to make a phone call, he said quietly. We're done here, Sandra said. Mr. Walsh, you're suspended without pay pending the outcome of this investigation. We'll be referring this matter to local law enforcement for criminal prosecution. You have 1 hour to collect your personal items from your office and leave the premises. Security will escort you. You can't. We can. We did. Get out. Derek stood up, grabbed his tablet, left his coffee. As he walked toward the door, I stood up too. There are 12 people in the lobby, employees you stole from. You're going to walk past them on your way out. He didn't respond. Just left. Marcus Williams looked at me. Satisfied? When every employee gets their money back and Derek's in prison, I'll be satisfied. Until then, this is just paperwork. The prosecutor's office moved fast. Derek was arrested 2 weeks later on charges of embezzlement, fraud, identity theft, and misuse of corporate funds. The bail was set at $50,000. He posted it the same day using money nobody could trace. Probably more stolen funds hidden somewhere. Ashley agreed to testify in exchange for immunity. The prosecutors saw her as a victim of manipulation rather than a willing participant. I made sure they understood Derek had used the promise of career advancement and romantic involvement to manipulate multiple managers, and that Ashley had cooperated fully in exposing the fraud. The trial was scheduled for 3 months out, but Derek's lawyer pushed for a plea deal after seeing the evidence. The Deloitte audit had uncovered even more theft. Derek had been stealing from employee benefits for over a year, not just 8 months. The total was closer to $147,000. I sat in the courtroom when Derek entered his plea. Guilty to all charges. The judge wasn't sympathetic. Mr. Walsh, you held a position of trust and authority. You used that position to exploit vulnerable workers, steal their money, and manipulate women in subordinate positions. The victims of your crimes are people who work hourly wages, who depend on every dollar. Your behavior wasn't just criminal, it was predatory. Derek stood there in a suit that probably cost more than Maria's monthly rent. 6 years in state prison. Full restitution of $147,000 to be paid to victims. Upon release, 10 years probation with restrictions on financial industry employment. Permanent ban from management positions in retail or any field involving employee financial information. The gavel came down. Derek was taken into custody immediately. I watched him walk out in handcuffs and felt nothing. No satisfaction, no revenge, no vindication. Just the cold fact that justice had been served. Maria Gonzalez came up to me in the hallway afterward. She was wearing new work boots. Thank you, she said simply. You got your money back? All of it. Plus interest because of the delay. The company paid it out immediately after Derek's arrest. Good. Tony said you're the one who figured it all out. That you could have just handled your divorce and walked away, but you didn't. I shrugged. I did what was right. Still, thank you. Ashley's probation was light. 6 months of supervision, community service, and a permanent ban from positions involving confidential employee information. She got a job doing customer service at a call center. We finalized the divorce 2 months after Derek's sentencing. She called me the day the papers were signed. Blake, I know this doesn't change anything, but I need you to know I'm sorry. Not just for the affair, for all of it. For being so stupid that I helped hurt people like Maria. Okay? That's it? Just okay? What do you want me to say, Ashley? You made choices. You're dealing with consequences. I'm glad you're sorry. I'm glad you're trying to do better. But we're done. This conversation is done. I understand. I wanted you to know. I know. Goodbye, Ashley. I hung up and deleted her contact from my phone. Peterson Retail promoted me 3 months after Derek's conviction. Not to store management, I had no retail experience and didn't want it. They created a new position, Regional Loss Prevention and Employee Security Coordinator. My job was to develop systems to prevent the kind of fraud Derek had committed and to review expense and pension processes across all their locations. The pay was better than warehouse supervision. The work was interesting. I got to use my logistics background to close security gaps and protect workers. I was reviewing expense reports at the corporate office 6 months after Derek went to prison when someone knocked on my door. Blake Coleman? I looked up. Woman in her early 30s, professional clothes, carrying a laptop case and a coffee. Dark hair, confident posture, wearing a badge that said Ohio Banking Commission, Fraud Investigation Division. That's me. Jordan Rivers. I'm a fraud prevention specialist with the State Banking Commission. We're doing a follow-up investigation on the Derek Walsh case, and I was told you were the one who initially identified the fraud pattern. I did. What can I help you with? She sat down across from me. We're expanding the investigation. Derek Walsh had previous employment at 2 other retail chains before Peterson. We're finding similar patterns of employee expense fraud at both locations. Smaller amounts, harder to detect, but the methodology is identical. How much total? If our preliminary analysis is correct, Derek Walsh stole over $300,000 from employees across 3 different companies over 8 years. You caught him during his biggest operation, but he'd been doing this for almost a decade. I sat back. $300,000 from employees. Workers who couldn't afford to lose $50, let alone hundreds or thousands. Your investigation methodology was flawless, by the way. The documentation you provided became our template for tracking employee expense fraud in retail environments. We're using it statewide now. Glad it helped? More than helped. You prevented what could have become $1 million theft if Derek had continued. You also exposed a vulnerability in retail employee protection systems that we're now addressing across the industry. She pulled out a business card. I'm actually here to offer you a consulting opportunity. The Banking Commission is developing new fraud prevention training for corporate compliance departments. We need someone who understands both the logistics of retail operations and the methodology of financial fraud. Interested? I looked at the card. Jordan Rivers, Senior Fraud Prevention Specialist. Direct line, email, official state seal. What would it involve? Part-time consulting initially, helping us develop training materials, reviewing corporate expense procedures, providing expertise on employee financial protection systems. Eventually, if it works out, there might be a full-time position available. I'm not a forensic accountant. I'm a warehouse guy who got angry and used spreadsheets. She smiled. The best fraud investigators aren't always the ones with accounting degrees. They're the ones who understand how systems work and how people exploit them. You figured out Derek's entire operation using logistics knowledge and basic financial analysis. That's exactly what we need. I thought about it for maybe 5 seconds. I'm interested. Great. I'll send you the details. First session is next week. We're training corporate compliance officers from 15 retail chains. You'll co-present with me on identifying expense fraud patterns. I've never done public speaking. You confronted a corporate supervisor in a motel room, built a fraud case that put him in prison, and stood up to a company's legal team to make sure employees got justice. You'll handle 15 compliance officers just fine. She stood up, shook my hand, and left. I looked at the business card for a long moment, then pinned it to my office corkboard. The training session went well. I presented case studies based on Derek's fraud methodology, showed the compliance officers how to spot irregular expense patterns, and explained the importance of employee-level financial monitoring. Jordan handled the technical forensic accounting parts. We made a good team. Afterward, over coffee in the hotel lobby where the training was held, she asked me about the personal side. Tony mentioned your wife was involved. That must have been complicated. Ex-wife. And yeah, it was complicated. She was manipulated by Derek, but she still made choices that helped him steal from people who couldn't afford it. I made sure she cooperated with the investigation, but I also made sure she understood there were consequences. How do you separate the personal anger from the professional investigation? I didn't, really. The anger drove the investigation, but I kept it focused on protecting the employees, not on punishing Ashley. Once I framed it that way, the personal stuff became background noise. That's remarkably mature for someone dealing with infidelity and betrayal. I shrugged. Maria Gonzalez was walking around in shoes with holes in them. David Reynolds' retirement was getting stolen. That mattered more than my hurt feelings about my marriage. Jordan looked at me with something like respect. You know, most people in your situation would have just filed for divorce and moved on. They wouldn't have built a case, coordinated with employees, set up a sting operation. Why did you do all that? Because it was right. Because those employees deserved justice. Because Derek was going to keep doing it if someone didn't stop him. I paused. And because I was good at it. The logistics, the documentation, the investigation. It made sense to me in a way that most things don't. Ever think about making it a career? Full-time fraud investigation? I am thinking about it. This consulting work is interesting. Using what I learned from the Derek case to help other companies protect their employees, that feels worthwhile. The State Commission has an opening for a retail fraud specialist. Full-time position, benefits, decent pay. You'd be investigating employee theft, corporate embezzlement, benefit fraud. Everything you did with Derek, but across multiple companies. Want me to send you the job description? I finished my coffee. Yeah, send it. I applied for the position. The interview process was thorough. 3 rounds, background checks, presentations on fraud methodology. They offered me the job 2 weeks later. I gave Peterson Retail my notice. Marcus Williams understood. You did good work here, Blake. The security systems you implemented probably saved us $500,000 in potential fraud over the next few years. But I get it. This is bigger. Thanks for the opportunity, and for taking the Derek Walsh case seriously. You made it impossible not to. The documentation you provided was airtight. Speaking of which, the employees wanted me to give you this. He handed me an envelope. Inside was a card signed by all 89 employees whose money Derek had stolen. Short messages. Thank you. You saved my retirement. We couldn't have done this without you. Maria Gonzalez had written, You gave us our dignity back. We won't forget. I put the card in my desk drawer and finished packing my office. The job with the State Banking Commission was everything Jordan had described. I investigated corporate fraud, employee theft, benefit embezzlement. I helped develop training programs. I testified in court cases. I used the same systematic approach that had caught Derek to catch dozens of other criminals stealing from workers. Jordan and I worked together often. She handled the forensic accounting. I handled the operational analysis and employee interviews. We closed cases that had been open for years. 6 months into the job, we were working late at the commission office, reviewing evidence for a case involving a construction company stealing workers' comp payments. Jordan ordered Chinese food. We ate at our desks, surrounded by spreadsheets and bank records. Can I ask you something personal? She said. Sure. Have you dated anyone since your divorce? No, haven't had time. Haven't really wanted to. Because of trust issues? Because I'm busy. Because this work matters. Because I'm not ready. I looked at her. Why do you ask? Because I think you're interesting. Because we work well together. Because I'd like to have dinner sometime that isn't takeout while reviewing fraud cases. I set down my chopsticks. Jordan, I'm not asking for marriage or commitment or anything complicated. Just dinner. Somewhere that doesn't involve spreadsheets or evidence files. What do you say? I thought about Ashley, about Derek, about the whole mess that had brought me here. Then I thought about Maria Gonzalez getting her money back, about David Reynolds' retirement being protected, about 89 employees who had justice because I'd decided to do something instead of just walking away. Okay, I said. Dinner, but somewhere that serves better food than this. She smiled. I know just the place. We had dinner, then another, then a few more. It wasn't complicated or dramatic. It was just two people who understood the work, who cared about protecting employees, who knew what it meant to fight for people who couldn't fight for themselves. Jordan had her own story. A father who'd lost his pension to corporate fraud, a mother who'd worked 3 jobs after that. She'd become a fraud investigator the same way I had. Anger channeled into action. Personal pain transformed into professional purpose. We didn't talk about Ashley much. Didn't need to. That was old history. This was something new. A year after Derek went to prison, I got a letter from the State Corrections Department. Derek had submitted a request to reduce his sentence based on good behavior. The parole board was reviewing it. I wrote a victim impact statement. So did Maria Gonzalez. So did David Reynolds, Sarah Kim, and 20 other employees. The parole board denied the request. Derek would serve his full 6 years. 2 years after that, I was promoted to senior fraud investigator. Jordan and I were still working together, still closing cases, still protecting employees. We'd moved in together by then. Small apartment near the commission office, nothing fancy, but it was ours. Tony called me one afternoon. Hey man, wanted to let you know, Maria just got promoted to warehouse supervisor. First time they've had a woman in that position. She said to tell you thanks. Said she never would have had the confidence to go for it if you hadn't shown her that one person can make a difference. She did that herself. I just helped catch a criminal. You did more than that, Blake. You showed a lot of people that the system can work if somebody has the guts to make it work. That matters. After I hung up, I looked around my office. Case files stacked neatly. Evidence organized by date and category. Spreadsheets tracking financial irregularities across a dozen companies. This was my life now. Not perfect, not glamorous, but meaningful. Jordan knocked on my door. Ready to go? We've got that meeting with the Retail Fraud Task Force in 20 minutes. Yeah, let's go. We walked out together, talking about the case, about the evidence, about the employees we were trying to protect. It was good work, important work. And somewhere in a state prison, Derek Walsh was learning that stealing from people who couldn't afford to lose had consequences. Real ones. That was justice. Simple, clean, final. I was satisfied with that.